Hey everyone, welcome back to the Halo Labs podcast, where we explore how people are building the next wave of innovation, tech, automation, and AI. Today, I'm joined by Fahad Aziz. I pronounced that right?
Okay,
Awesome.
close.
Founder of Puppy Dog IO, sorry. A platform that's been catching attention for how it's rethinking the way we connect, market, and engage online. Fahad, I'm really glad that you're here with me, man. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So before we dive into Puppy Dog, I'd love to just get to know you a little bit. So where's your story? Where'd you come from? How'd you get into entrepreneurship? Where'd you begin?
Yeah, well, uh, been a very exciting journey. First of all, thank you for setting this up. I'm excited about today's conversation and sharing some of the learnings from my experience in the technology for over 2 decades now. So from the very beginning, I've been working in startups. It's been over 25 years now. I started my career working with a startup as an intern. And 3 years later, that startup went public on NASDAQ. So for me, from the very beginning, it was the startup fascinated me. And I thought it's very easy to build companies and go public. Little did I know that's not the case. So after I graduated and started working, I was in New York and I did two startups over there. The first one was in e-commerce. We were selling digital cameras back in 2003. That didn't work out much because we ran out of inventory and that there were much bigger organizations that were
Mm.
doing the same. We were up against big e-commerce brands, but had a lot of learnings, from that experience on if you are offering something that the others are offering and they have bigger pockets, you need to have some unique differentiation. So unique differentiation in the world of e-commerce, if it's not on the product itself, it could be on the experience for the people on there buying it. And that's what Amazon did, where they made it so easy for people to buy, return, and the whole it's one-click purchase. So did that for 2 years. And then after that, I did my next startup. And this one was more on the fintech. And the whole idea was we wanted to build a automated trading box, which is called a black box.
Mm.
And so it was a bit of AI and a bit of algorithmic decision making. And we were using some of the loopholes that we found in the trading business, especially in day trading, where you can short the right time and sell. And we did a lot of testing and it was fairly successful. But we were not able to launch it because by the time we got ready to launch, we had a 2008 financial crisis. And the first thing they did was turn off the shorting, right? So,
Yeah,
so the
the Big
so
Short.
the whole box was built on that technique. And for me, the biggest learning was that I spent almost like 18 months writing the code, building that technology, hoping that when it's going to be ready, we will be able to launch it. And if you hear from other founders, experts, one thing they will always tell you is do not build in a vacuum. You need to ship faster. You need to work with your customers. And this waterfall model that, you spend like 18 months writing the code and then you'll come out and give it to the customer, that doesn't really work. And, we had that firsthand experience working on that project. So those were two startups that didn't work out. And for me, I started to realize that, maybe this whole startup thing is not my thing. Maybe I'm over ambitious. And yes, I have seen my first job in the company went public, but I had little to do with that because I was just a 18-year-old in that company. So from there, a bit of disappointment and bit of looking at your own strengths and weaknesses, I decided to just do a job for next few years. So I did that, and then 2 years
No fun.
later, the entrepreneurial bug came back and said, you cannot do this for too long. You need to make some decisions. And this time I said, okay, let's do it one more time. But this time we're going to do it differently. Number one, we're going to get out of our comfort zone. So we were living in New York City, so we decided to move to a very small suburb out of in Illinois, close to Chicago. We decided to quit our job so we can focus full time day one on this new venture. So those were the two things to start with. And we say we burned our ships. There's no going back. So we have to make it work. And so so that's how it started. And then in order to decide what to build, that was another big question, right? We wanted to solve a problem in healthcare this time, but the healthcare was very closed. There was a lot of noise, and we were trying to figure out how to penetrate, what to build. And while we were doing that research, we ended up visiting a senior living community, right, out of Chicago. And we were fascinated by the operations in the community. Number one, if you have been to one of those communities, you will know that they are looking after your parents and grandparents. So there's a lot of care that's happening, but it also requires a lot of coordination because it's a 24/7 operation, right? And they cannot make any mistakes. How does the coordination work? It was pretty much on paper, sticky notes, leaving mails, and so on. So it was very broken, and everyone was always upset. So we did, which was very unique at that time. We got a room in that community and started and moved there and lived in the community with everybody
Wow.
else.
Okay.
So that was great because now we can shadow the nurses, the staff, the family members who are visiting, and the residents. We were having breakfast with them. Lunchtime, we would go and talk to them, and so on. So by doing that for a couple of weeks, we started to realize what's the root cause of all these challenges that they're having, which turned out to be the lack of communication.
Mhm.
And looking back, if we would have not done that exercise, we would have never known the root cause. We would try to put bandages on their problems. But just the fact that we were lucky enough to stay there and talk to them so many times, we realized, okay, it's not about the nurse is mean or she is always angry. It's not about that. It's just that she's overworked.
Yeah, and tired. Yeah, for sure.
She's tired and she's so busy taking care of your parents that she doesn't have time to communicate. Right. So that's the problem. So that's a huge learning from that one experience that, anytime you want to build a startup, you need to be on the shoes of the customer and listen and understand the challenges. Because what happens in many cases is that customers will tell you their problems, but they're not really their problems, right? Their problem is something else, but they cannot explain to you. So then you as a founder has to read between the lines to understand what those problems really are, right?
Can I ask you about two things? So you were mentioning that solving for that problem. How did you guys get in there to spend that time? Did you have some sort of agreement first, saying, "Hey, this is what we want to build for you"? Because you mentioned, excuse me, you mentioned not building anything in a vacuum. So was it more so you had an idea that you wanted to help this particular niche and organization, and then you figured a way out to get in there, start problem solving, and then start building? Is that essentially the flow?
I would believe usually that's the case that you figure out there's a problem that you want to solve, and then you spend a lot of time talking to the people who are in that problem. For us, it was slightly different. We didn't plan for it, and we just got a invitation to come and visit a community. Normally, what happens is that these communities are managed by executive directors who are much later in their career. But this was a unique situation. This community was newly built, and the executive director was only 27-year-old young fellow. And he just looked at all the operations and he was frustrated that why we are living in the pre-digital world. So he was more welcoming and wanted us to solve these problems for him.
He wanted you to
We got,
modernize, right? He
yeah,
saw the gap and was like, "We need help."
right.
That's
And
excellent.
that's what's what's common is that when you do your research, market research, every time you're going to find these champions. These are we call early adopters. These are the people who take the biggest risk. They help you build the technology knowing that this technology may not work for them. But these are the champions. These are the guys who catalyze the startup ecosystem because on their um, name, they bring in technology because they believe in innovation, modernization, and stuff.
Visionaries, right?
The visionaries. And in many cases, they may not even get recognition for doing that, right? But yeah, every time we talk to startups, you'll see that there are these champions behind them that really made them do all this.
That's amazing. So what would you say, excuse me, what would you say is a major lesson that you've learned from the mistakes, the errors, the trials and tribulation? What's the biggest lesson or moment, early on in your career or second or third startup that really propelled you into this level of understanding where, you've completed this chapter and now you're at this, new stage?
Yeah, I think if you look at a journey of any founder, one thing that's common is a lot of mistakes, right? It doesn't get surfaced out, so people don't see that. We always hear the good news on the LinkedIn, but behind one good news, there are at least 10, 15 missteps that leads to that good news, right? So if I look back in my multiple journeys, there are countless mistakes that we made, and we wish we would have not made them at that time. But I think for me, those were all learning. Uh, from each one of them, you learn something new, right? So for instance, I can talk about this example of senior living product we built. The company was called Care Merge, and one of the one of the challenges we had in the very beginning was that we started to feel that we can build a very horizontal platform that can solve problem not for just senior living communities, but for any other healthcare entities. So we ended up building a platform that was serving pharmacies, physicians, doctors, hospitals, and we sold it to all of them, right? But we reached a point where now it was impossible to support all of these different types of customers.
Interesting. So then what?
And we started, yeah, and instead of growing vertically, we started growing horizontally by adding different types of customers instead of having same customers in volume, right? So it put us in a very difficult position because no matter how much companies we were signing up, right, it was not helping us grow the revenue because we need to hire more people to manage them, right? So it took us 3 to 4 years to make the decision that it's time to focus on one or two markets rather than trying to do everything. And that was a very painful reverse gear because now we had to go and cancel some very large contracts, right? So I think the learning is for any startup is that when you start and you have limited resources, the one problem that's a real problem and the right problem and focus on that. Once you build a very successful business on that one problem, then you build for adjacent problems and different markets.
That's a good point. Yeah, stick to what you know, right, and scale. Awesome. So let's talk about Puppy Dog IO. I love the name, by the way. It's very memorable. It's very friendly. So what's the story behind the name? How
Yeah.
did that come about?
Yeah. So puppydog.io is inspired from this sales technique called puppy dog close. And it basically means try it before you buy it. Right. So we were very fortunate to be able to find the domain names, and it did resonate with our mission that we allow companies to scale their product marketing. So the whole idea behind Puppy Dog is that with the new technologies coming out, it's becoming very easy to create applications and software. With vibe coding, with Copilot, you'll be able to design the product, write the code, test it, deploy it, launch it in just a couple of hours. But then the bottleneck is the marketing part. Can you also sell the product and communicate the product to your customers as fast as you're building it? So that's what we are solving with Puppy Dog, that we automatically generate the content that you need to communicate your product to your customers. So think about an organization who used to release new features every 6 months, and now they're releasing it every 2 months. So that means that you need more marketing power to create the content, communicate to the customers, have them start using it, and so on. So the only way they can do that is they also have AI tools to generate the content and deliver and do all that stuff. So that's what Puppy Dog basically does. We are AI for product marketing.
How did you identify that as the problem? What made you think this is what I need to build?
Yeah. So this was a problem that I had in my mind for a very, very long time, even before I did my CareMerge startup. That, when you create these presentations for customers, you want these presentations to be very personalized. Like, so
Hmm.
you're
Yeah.
going and meeting with a large customer, you will spend days to create a very personalized, tailored presentation for that specific customer. But there was no technology to do that. You have like tons and tons of PowerPoints, and each one has to be changed and so on, right? So when I was going through an acquisition process, there were 21 companies who wanted to acquire CareMerge and they wanted to see the product. And I started thinking about, is there a way I can just send them a link and they can automatically go through the whole product, right? But each one go through a very different experience because one buyer was looking to take this product and integrate with their existing solution. The other company wanted to use it as a complementary. Like all of them had a different use case in mind on what they would do when they acquired CareMerge. So I was like, how can I do that? And I just couldn't find any solutions to do it. I ended up doing the 21 presentation myself, one by one.
No.
So then after the exit, when I was free, I was thinking a lot about how to solve this problem. And after almost like 18 months doing research, talking to a lot of companies and customers, and I said, okay, I think we can solve this problem with some of the new Gen AI tools
Yeah.
and some of the models that are available. And that's how it started. I pitched this to Professor Andrew Ng from Stanford. He's the founder of Coursera. And he loved the complexity of this problem and said, okay, let's do it together. And we joined hands and we started this close to like 2 years back.
That's amazing. Would you say that so you had this idea a long time ago? Were the tools available like they are now, or would you say that the tools that are available now and then the last couple of years have really propelled your ability to produce this?
Yeah, the challenge was that there were tools available, but they were all pre-LLM, right? Which basically meant that create, you have to use the tools to create the content, right? A very good example is that if you want to create a product video, you can use something like Canva or Synthesia, which are very, very popular tools. But the problem is that you still need people to use them to create the content, right? Because that's how things used to work pre-LLM, right? But now the way it works for us is that we have AI workers who are doing the work for you to build the product content, right? So you just tell them that, hey, this is a new feature. Go ahead, get the screenshot, create the content, and then tailor it for these 1,000 customers, right? So when you get that content, it will say, hey, Igor, thank you for watching this. Let us show you about this new feature that we just launched. And it will work really well for you because you're already using X and Y, right? So that level of personalization would have been impossible before this new OpenAI and LLM technologies, right? So that's what it does. It automatically generates the content. And since it's doing it, it's much better than human created content and it's much
Yeah.
faster. Like we can create a product content or product video in less than 3 minutes, which would usually take days.
Yeah. And scale to as many people as might need it. I think that's really amazing. So you're essentially, ingesting the use case from potential customers, and then it develops exactly what they need to see, how they need to see it, when they need to see it flawlessly.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And it's this problem is going to get bigger and bigger. I was at a Google AI hackathon last night. There were close to like 40, 50 um, uh, with developers. And in less than 3 hours, they were able to build over 150 apps, right? Using the new Google vibe coding and AI and Nano Banana and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
When you look at that, now you can say anybody can build an app, anybody can build a software, anyone can build new features, right? So now the challenge is that how do you communicate how your product works, right?
Yeah.
So if that was a problem for startups and tech companies in the past, now it's going to be a problem for consumers because they're the ones who are building apps. I can download Replit on my iPhone and can build an app while waiting for the train.
Yeah.
It's that easy to do it now, right? So we believe that in months and years to come, this problem is going to get much bigger and bigger, and that's why we are at the right time and the right place to solve it.
Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah, I think you have a really good point that that problem will grow. It's amazing that you found it. One of the things I do like to dig into is how you think. How did you get these problems and make these decisions? How did you scale? How did you balance vision with execution? Or, in your opinion, what's been the hardest thing for Puppy Dog?
Yeah, and not just for Puppy Dog, but for any founder, any startup. The most important thing is that the problem that you are solving has to be a real problem, right? It's not fabricated. Because one of the problems we do as human beings is that we fall in love with an idea. And then when people are telling us that it's not a great idea or this is not a big problem, we just have a deaf ear to that, right? But a good founder, what they do is that they listen, right? And they listen and they can tell what's noise and what's real conversation, right? And in that conversation, they're able to find and identify the problem because it's like building a building that if your foundation is not strong enough, if you're building the whole empire on something that doesn't even exist, then the good chance is that it's going to fall apart or you're going to have a very difficult time selling it and trying to tell people that, hey, this is a real problem, and they're telling you it's not. So that's one problem. That one thing that I would really go back and think a lot about, not just in the beginning of the journey, but even today. Every day we wake up and think about it. Are we solving a real problem, right? And how do you know it's a real problem? Well, there are many ways to find out. Number one is that people are facing this problem and they are want this problem to be solved. And that's great. But what does that mean? It means they are willing to pay you to solve this problem. Okay. That's also really good. But that's not good enough. Are they about to write a check to help you solve this problem?
How bad is the problem, right?
That's where you would know that if they are willing and they're ready to write a check, it's a real problem. I will give you an example. When we started this venture, puppydog.io, I took a slightly different approach. We hired an independent research firm and told them that this is the ICP we're trying to go after. Can you find 70, 80 people in that ICP and ask them if this is a good problem to solve and would they be interested in learning more and being part of it and using it? Out of the 70 people that they found and they talked to and did the interviews on a video, uh, 69 of them said yes. Big problem. I think we need to solve it, and so on. Only one said, I don't have the budget. I don't think I believe in recorded content. I want to do everything live. Makes sense. 7 months later, 8 months later, when we have the first version of the product, I reached out to 69 of them, tell them whatever you told us, the feedback you gave, I have the product version 1 ready. Are you interested in taking a look at it? Make a guess how many of those?
100%.
Zero.
What? Nobody wanted to look at it?
Nobody wants to pay for it,
No. So then what?
right? So the challenge was that, yes, people would say wow, you're solving a really big problem. I want to be part of it. I'm support you. I think you're going to do great, right? But that's not good enough. What's good enough is that they're ready to pay for it to solve it. That's when you know that you have a problem that you have solved for them.
How would you make that distinction though based on the research that I was saying? Because you mentioned that 16 out of the 7 are like, yeah, that's a real problem. Based on that, how would you be able to bridge that without actually reaching out to them and saying, I have your solution for you that you wanted? How do you preemptively figure out if they're really ready to write that check?
Yeah, so I think in that particular case, this whole independent research, I think that's a bad idea for startups.
Okay,
So that was a learning,
got it.
right? Because you are not directly connected to these people. They don't know you. They're incentivized for a Starbucks or a Best Buy gift card, right? Obviously, they're going to say yes, yes, yes for everything, right? So that was the wrong audience and wrong way of going for a startup founder. Maybe good for UX, UI research, maybe good for user testing. That works well because you bring in 50 people, they test your product, give you feedback. That's different. But if you're working on an idea ground up, every idea looks brilliant,
Hmm.
right? But the way to do it is what we did previously. You just need to sit with them, talk to all their stakeholders, and then ask them the basic question that, if I bring this solution to you tomorrow, how much are you willing to pay? And that will tell you how big that problem is for them. And if they're hesitant to share the number, say, okay, we'll discuss when it's ready and all that stuff, then there's a indication for you.
Yeah. So based on that, what would be a basic principle or a primary principle, I should say, or mantra that guides you and your team moving forward? What's the thing that you stick to then?
So number one is that spend a lot of time with the customers who are using the product and customers who have stopped using the product. Understand why. Because the sooner you're able to understand the challenges that they're having, the feedback that they have, you can incorporate that into the product, right? Because tomorrow when you're scaling, you don't want to deal with these situations and these challenges. So the best thing my team can do right now is that every customer who is using our product, spend the time with them to understand what do they like, what more can we do, what do they don't like, why they decide to churn. So all those questions, they are very difficult questions, but they need to be asked and discussed so that whatever you build, your priorities, your roadmap, your features, all that aligns with the feedback that's coming from real customers.
Because then you're not building in a vacuum, like you said before.
We're not building in a vacuum,
Very good. So then,
right?
what in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months, what's going to be the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to?
Yeah. So I think for us, we are at a point when we have a large number of customers, the early adopters. We have design partners who are using it. We work with SMBs. We have market customers. We're soon to sign our first enterprise customer. Now we have enough validation that we can scale our marketing and sales efforts to go beyond our smaller reach to bigger market. So I think what we're excited about is some of the work we are doing to increase our marketing effort, and that would ultimately result in scaling, getting more customers onto the platform.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great growth, obviously. So
Well, thank you.
looking broader, right? So if we're going to shift to something you mentioned before, where people can create apps on the fly, right, waiting for the train or however. So, what do you think, in your opinion, future of digital engagement, brand customer interaction? Where do you see that going? How is that gonna to play out? What do you think?
Well, anything I will tell you right now will change in next 6 months
Yeah.
because of the pace that things are changing. It's beyond anyone's understanding that the where it's gonna stop. We are seeing few signs of what may be the case 2 years from now. For example, UX or UI is not going to be a big deal anymore because everything will be driven by prompts, right? So if you see some of the new capabilities that OpenAI offered, where you can just ask a question, write something, and it will run it for you, whether it's app one, app two, doesn't matter. You can search in Coursera from OpenAI. You can search in Zillow within OpenAI. So those interfaces would sort of become irrelevant, right? So I think that was going to be a big, big change. Also, a lot of browser agents coming in that say, hey, just write the command prompt and we'll do the browsing for you. So that also shows that the actual UI is not going to work, right? Companies will build much simpler UI. So if you go to Kayak right now to book your flight, and when you click on the option to select the time of the flight, that's a very complicated technology they have built where it's going to drop down, let you select the start time and the end time and all that stuff. Great for humans because it becomes easier to do it, but not so good for AI agents who are trying to browse. So what we'll see is that they're going to be much simpler, just a drop down for AI agent to pick, right? So the UI, I think, is gonna be disrupted uh, in the next. The other thing I will see is that the with so much apps coming out, um, that we're gonna have a bit of a demand and supply issue. There's so much supply that there will not be enough demand. And the whole excitement around, hey, my app can do this, I can make money, this and that may not be the case because everybody will have. It's like
Yeah.
everybody has the photos, right? You can take a photo, you can go to Yosemite and take photos. I can go there and take photos. Now, who cares about the photos because there's so many of them, right? So that's what's going to happen with the apps. I think it's not going to be any exciting. The third thing I can tell you, and again, all this will change in 6 months. But the third thing I can tell you is that the companies, people will build apps. They will quickly make their first $1 million, $2 million, and then they're going to fade away because they will not be able to sustain the growth. There will be 10 other companies who will do the same thing and they'll copy your idea and they can do it. And you will not have that uh, market share and then you're out. So you'll see a lot of young kids making quick money and then just getting out, right? We're seeing this all the time these days, you know. I meet with a lot of founders, 21 old. They have made their first $1 million by building an app and deploying it and doing a great job on marketing, but they don't know what to do next. So they come to us and ask for advice and say, hey, what do we do next? And I look at the product and say, I don't know. I don't know what you can do next. You did an awesome job to
Right.
get to this point, but your product is not defensible. It's not sticky, right? And you're already seeing there are 6 other companies who copied your name and already built similar what you're doing, and you're gonna get beaten. So the best thing you can do is that prolong it as long as you can, make as much money as you can, let's figure it out, and then go back to college and finish it.
Yeah, for sure. Don't lose that track.
So you'll see a
That's
lot of
good
quick
advice.
money and then not long sustainable businesses, but that's great. I would love people from developing countries make money. Like they're making money today on YouTube video. They're making money on Instagram. Now they can make money on building apps, solving problems.
Yeah. And that seems to be the best use of that too. You know, if you can solve a problem for people, especially if it's some sort of industry that has a lot of issues like you're talking about with post-acute care facilities, and that's a big deal. I think that's great.
Right.
So how do you see Puppy Dog fitting into that future then?
Yeah, so I think the way we are looking at Puppy Dog is that, this whole product marketing has to be automated with AI workers. We don't expect that in the future there will be a large team of product marketers. They are manually deciding your GTM strategy, delivery, creating content, optimizing content. That's not going to happen with humans. The AI and AI agents can do a much better job. So we see a world that as soon as you create new product, your marketing is ready with that and you can start communicating. So that's how we see it. And I think we have good early validation with our customers that this works really well for them. The content creation is awesome. The speed of the creation is awesome. And then it's so tailored for every person that it resonates with them. So I feel that this is going to be a game changer for companies creating products.
Yeah, and I was looking at, your website. The team in general is rather lean. I mean, it's not that a big company in terms of staff. So I'm assuming, there's a lot of AI and automation in there. So when you look at your current, workflow, are you finding any friction? Is there ones that maybe you feel you could improve on or that you want to
Yeah.
improve on? Or what's a problem that you've identified in your own workflow that you wish should be better?
Yeah, so we also look at our operations and see which one of the redundant things that we do every day can be replaced by some of the AI technology that exists. And in many cases, if it doesn't exist, we just write it on Replit to automate a lot of stuff. So a lot of work that we do on our marketing, on our email campaign, content creation, we use a lot of tools. And then we have built some connectors using Replit and others that just helps us take the content from one place, make the changes, show it on Slack, automatically approve it, put it on the website, all that stuff. So that's the only reason that we are able to work so lean that we don't have to hire a full time for everything. The other aspect is that, the expectations is much higher from investors and from the market that, gone are the days that you need to build like a 30, 40, 50 team in a startup to build a product and launch it. There are some good examples out there where startups have built very lean, and now that's the sort of a bar that's been set. So investors are looking at it and say, "Hey, how much can you achieve with such a small team? How far can you
Yeah.
go?" Because that determines that once you have the money, then how far you go with that money. So um, yeah, so the trend is on being frugal, being smart, being automated, and if you do that, then you're successful.
It's amazing. So you're a self-sustaining ecosystem, right? You're plugging your own holes using your own tools, building them if you need them. That's impressive. Very very nice. Yeah.
It is. The only challenge is that it does end up with a lot of tools that you're using,
Uh,
right?
and trying to
There's a
find the
lack
right
of,
one.
that's one problem. The other problem is that now you have to log into at least 20 different softwares,
Yeah.
right? So how do all of them come together? I think that's going to be a challenge that will be solved in a couple of years, how to bring everything together. And that's where you will have these what they call these automated organizations. So now if everything comes together in one platform, they're talking to each other, then you may not even need a CEO, right? They run on their own.
Yeah, that's something. It'll be like an AI Amazon where it's got all your
Why
tools in
not?
one place.
Why not?
Basically, you have a conversation and it automatically knows what tools you need, how to leverage them, how to cross connect them, get it deployed so that by the time you're done thinking about it,
Yeah,
it's like when using Lovable and Supabase together, right? They talk so
absolutely.
well, and that's
Yeah,
great. I mean, that's coming.
you have your access to your books and your accounts and your bank, and you know how much budgets you have assigned to everything. Automatically sign up for a service, send them the check, then see the optimization get delivered they deliver the value, you cancel the contract. Why cannot AI do that? It can. It's just that today they're not on the same platform, but then that's just a matter of time when everything can talk to each other.
Yeah. Which is so funny because, when you go to most of these apps and you try to sign in, it's like you sign in with Google anyway. It's always
Yeah,
leveraging your Google account anyway. So
yeah,
it's just a couple more steps and we'll be there.
yeah, yeah. It's happening.
F- this has been awesome. I really do appreciate your time. And before we wrap up, where can people learn more about Puppy Dog IO?
Yeah, so please follow us on LinkedIn, on our website, and if anyone is interested in uh, trying the platform, just sign up on the website and they get access to it.
Awesome. Any final thoughts that you want to share?
Well, very exciting times, and don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where you guys go from here. I think you made some really good points. There's gonna be some really awesome integrations. So, again, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.